Alright, so here is a practice run through for some of the tissues for the lab. So one of the things you'll notice is that there will be a reference picture in the bottom corner of these 8x10 color photos that we have that we'll be testing you on. So I'm just going to quickly go through them, and then you can use this as a study tool. They're also uploaded into the Blackboard shell as far as these pictures that you will be responsible for knowing the tissues for the lab portion of the AP1 class here at Baker. So the first picture that we have here, look for the skeleton. And then when we look at the tissues, we see these large osteons. We have the central canals. We have the lacunae out here in the peripheral portions of the osteons. And so this is a unique tissue of connective tissue called the bone tissue or compact bone. Here's another connective tissue. Down here is your reference point. So we're looking at the cartilage here between the ribs and the sternum. And so this tissue that we have the color photo of here is the hyaline cartilage. We have the lacunae. We have this milky substance here throughout the extracellular matrix that that is filled with minerals and some deposits that make the hyaline cartilage much more tough and strong. Here we're going to have the areolar connective tissue. We have the large elastic fibers, the fibroblast. And then there'll be another picture here that will be coming up, and then you'll see the reference point down here in the corner. This picture here is of connective tissue called adipose. So we have these large adipose cells that are filled with triglycerides and fat tissue. We have the cells, the cells trapped out here in the extracellular matrix. Here we're going to have the stratified cuboidal. The tissue that we're looking at right here is this thin single layer flat cells that are right here that are found in the alveoli of the lungs, and that is the simple squamous tissue. Here we have these rectangular cells with the nuclei that bounce from the bottom to the top, and so they kind of bounce around so they're not uniform at the bottom of it. We have these large structures called goblet cells, and then we have these finger-like projections called cilia here at the surface of the cells. And then we see our reference point down here that is lining the trachea and some of the bronchioles of the lung tissue, and then this is your pseudostratified ciliated columnar. Here we have this layer here where we have a mixture of flat cube-shaped cells that are changing their shape based on the pressure put upon them. And then when we look over at our reference, we're looking at the urinary bladder and the ureters of the kidney, and this is the transitional tissue. Here we have these long strands that are striated. We have alternating red and yellow. We have the cell nuclei here, the multiple nuclei, and then the picture here is showing you the front of the thighs. This is the quadricep muscles. And this is the skeletal muscle. Here we have long strands of striated muscle tissue. We have these dark bands here called intercalated discs, the nuclei here, and then your reference point here is a picture of the heart and the muscle tissue there. And so this slide here is a cardiac muscle tissue. Next picture, we have multiple layers of flat squished cells. So we're starting from this basal layer here, this dark band, and then moving our way up. And then this picture here is an example of stratified squamous, the non-keratinized, because we don't see the sloughing off up here. And then the picture is showing you the GI tract. And so this is not the type of squamous tissue that is found on the skin. Here we have this single layer of cube-shaped cells with a centrally located nuclei, and then what we're finding is that the reference point here is of the kidneys, and more specifically of the tubules of the kidneys, and so this is a simple cuboidal tissue. Okay, here we have multiple layers of columnar-shaped cells with nuclei down here at the bottom, and this is going to be our stratified columnar tissue. Reference point is going to be some of the intestines and the small intestines. Here we have a large cell body with a nuclei. We have finger-like projections here that are short called dendrites, and then a long single projection off called the axon, and our reference point here is the brain and the spinal cord and the peripheral nerves, and so this is a picture of the nerve tissue. Alright, and then here we have large nuclei with the strands here of smooth muscle, and so this is lining GI tract, and this is going to be smooth muscle tissue. Here we have these dense bands of collagen fibers, and the nuclei here are the dark spots, and then the reference point is going to be the tendons or the ligaments of this musculoskeletal system, and so this is going to be dense regular connective tissue. And then here's another picture of that adipose, so large cells filled with triglycerides and cholesterol, and then here we have it showing the hypodermis, or the subcutaneous layer of the skin. Okay. We had a picture previously that was the areolar tissue, so we have the collagen fibers, the fibroblasts here, the cells, and then these dark strands, the thin ones here are the elastic fibers, and then this is showing it's part of the fascia, and this is part of the areolar connective tissue. Okay. Another picture of transitional tissue, reference point bladder and ureters. Alright, so that'll be the end of this histology portion.